This wall's been building in your mind, but you'll find...
Ooh, man, it's been a week if it hasn't been a couple. Hey, folks, welcome back to the hottest pro wrestling podcast that's happening today, the Pro Slam World Podcast with Larry Mormon. I'm back. Yes, had a bit of a 1 week hiatus, and we're back on our new day, Mondays. Podcast dropping on Mondays. I think beginning of the week really will set the tone for anything that may have happened on Sunday night, pay-per-views over the weekend, like what I'm about to talk about today. But I'm glad to be back here with Pro Slam World. I hate to be gone for long, and I definitely feel that you may miss hearing one person's opinion on the greatest sport on the planet, professional wrestling. And, of course, let's start off first because we're getting close. We're about, a little under 2 months away from Pro Wrestling Syndicate returning Refuse to Lose 2017. Saturday night, September 30th, at the Metuchen Sportsplex. I'm never going to pronounce it right. In Metuchen, New Jersey. 215 Durham Avenue. Free parking. Doors open at 7 p.m. and you can meet the wrestlers before the matches. Don't forget, huge main event. Sabu going up against Vader. And we got others. The Pro Wrestling Syndicate Tag Team titles, the Handicap Heroes, will defend against the Urban Legends. Matt Cross and MVP will go 1-on-1. And, of course, Homicide taking on the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez. That and a whole lot more. Front row is completely sold out, folks. Remember, every ticket is $20, but now it's second row and back. Get your tickets at ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. Do not miss the return of Pro Wrestling Syndicate when it's big and bad and better than ever. Saturday night, September 30th. Refuse to Lose 2017. So this past weekend, I'd actually, when we got the tickets, it was maybe about a month and a half ago. A buddy of mine was telling me about Impact Wrestling, at the time TNA Impact, was heading to Staten Island for a live event. So I figured, why not? Head out, have a good time. So we ended up going Staten Island. It was now Global Force Wrestling, but it was Impact Wrestling. It was a good show, good card. Just a standard, just live event card. Really, no nonsense, nothing major happening. Like El Patron was not there, but Eli Drake was, EC3, Moose, Lashley, James Gunn, what? James Storm. So a lot of the big names, John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him, Johnny Nitro, he was there as well. But as much as the show was good, the show was fun. It was fun, I'll admit. The best part about it, though, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I have a few other podcasts. I have the Retro Gamers, which drops every Tuesday, and The Better Half. The Better Half drops every other Wednesday. New episode is actually coming out this week. And on that, with The Better Half, it's me and my buddy Frank. We've known each other for over 15 years. And we talk about married life, which is him, versus single life, which is me. And we kind of see who has the better half. And a lot of times it just boils down to us just BS and having a good time. Two old friends just shooting the stuff. But, the recurring thing, joke, whatever you want to call it, the in thing, look, if it happens, it happens, but might not really being all too keen if I were to meet up with someone, maybe having kids. Not a big fan of children, meaning, if I may explain myself, just having my own. Again, if it happens, it happens. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not looking for it to happen. I'm pretty good not having to wake up in the middle of the night or having to change diapers or have that huge responsibility on me. But all joking aside, this past Saturday, it was me, three of my buddies, all longtime friends of mine, and some of their kids. So there were 4 kids there. And to watch these children have an absolute blast watching this show. And some of them, they're only used to WWE, so they never seen anything else. I had now look, I'm not changing my thoughts or my opinions, but I had such a great time more watching the kids enjoy the show than me. And I had a good time. I brought my TNA title with me, met Allie, one of the knockouts at GFW, sweet as pie, sweet as can be. She signed an autograph, took a picture with me. But just to see and hear, my friend's sons just have a good time. And they were asking, because I'm probably, of the 4 adults, I'm the biggest wrestling fan there. I mean, I'm the one with the belt. But to have them kind of come up to me, ask me questions about the show, about the wrestling, wanting to see the belt. A friend of mine's kid, we went for dinner beforehand, me, him, and his son. And his son's 7, maybe? 6 or 7? I think he's 7. He'll correct me when he hears this. And the knowledge that he already has, I couldn't wipe the grin off my face. He was asking me questions about, my favorite wrestlers, tag teams. He was talking about his favorite wrestlers, talking about Sin Cara and John Cena and Chris Jericho. Even talking about, his dad showing him some of the older stuff on the network. Andre the Giant, Macho Man, Hogan. It was, oh man, it was so much fun. And I guess, I'm 37. I'm getting to be an old man, and a lot of people I know are probably now screaming at their radios or their phones or whatever they're listening to with this podcast and saying, "You're 37. You are far from old." But that's another topic for another show. But I guess if I was to have kids, how I would just throw them into watching wrestling, that part would probably be very, very cool. Having a little tag team partner of mine, watching along with the show. But if that happens, that happens. But in the meantime, to see this younger generation, the new generation, getting into it, and there's a lot more wrestling now there is. When I was their ages, when I was 6, 7, 8, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. Only had WWE. That was it. WCW came on for a little while in the early 90s. Not too long. And it seemed like versions of WCW Saturday Night, but it was probably just WCW main event. So I remember when I finally saw WCW, I was like, what is this? Who is, that's not Hulk Hogan. That's not Roddy Piper, Randy Savage. Who are these people? Who are these people? And to see now the just array of not only, with YouTube alone, let's forget about the WWE Network. YouTube alone, you can pull up virtually any match from any organization, anywhere on the planet. Wrestle Circus, Evolve, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Progress, Over the Top. These are all over the world. New Japan. So, kids nowadays, they have access to a lot more wrestling. They're not going to know what it was like to go to a wrestling event. Even like an ECW show, the original ECW, and tape trading. They don't even know what a videotape is, let alone what tape trading is. I remember back in the day, the only way you really knew what was happening in other parts of the country was exchanging those VHS tapes or buying a VHS tape of a show somewhere outside of New York, in my case. Trying to figure out who these people are, what this organization is, what they're doing. It's the plethora of availability now is just off the page, which is cool, which is sweet. I like it. And I'm happy to see my friends really, letting their kids watch, because I know a lot of people probably won't let their kids watch wrestling, which I think is, I'm going to come out and say it, I think that's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with professional wrestling. Okay, fine. During the Attitude Era, probably, but even then, not so much. It was a different time. The world was different. But now, you know what? And I get kids not staying up till 11 o'clock, 11:15 to watch Raw. I'm having trouble staying up till 11 o'clock, 11:15 to watch Raw. Has nothing to do with the product. I just can't stay up that long anymore. But I don't see there's anything wrong with taping Raw, taping SmackDown, showing it the next day when it's earlier to your kids. And you know what? If you want to maybe cut out some stuff for now, if you think they're too young, I mean, it's TV PG, so it's perfectly fine for them. But I'm not going to tell people how to parent. To fast forward through some stuff, that's fine. If things get a little violent, a little more violent than usual. But these kids, they were waiting for RKOs. I mean, one of them, my buddy's 7-year-old, he was like, what are they, it was funny. They were vacuuming. We got there early. They were vacuuming the ring before the show. And he said something along the lines of like, oh, they must be cleaning some stuff up from the matches, all the blood and sweat. So he knows that there's blood sometimes involved in wrestling. Not as much in WWE anymore, but that was part of history. So as much as I don't have a problem showing the product as is, look, I can't speak for anyone else, but don't. If your kids, if they catch wind of it at school, see it on someone's backpack or folder or whatever these kids carry nowadays, abacus. Don't tell them not to watch it. Let them watch it. Let them give it a shot. Look, don't let them watch Combat Zone Wrestling. I'm not saying that. Not every group is for everybody. But let them watch WWE. Let them watch Ring of Honor. Go right ahead. Let them watch Impact. Nothing wrong with that with the big three. But what did... I'm trying to think of the right word, because what bothered me is not the right word. It's not that strong. But it was funny because, again, we were eating dinner, and my buddy Rob, his son goes, is this the real wrestling that we're watching today? And of course, listen, you got to keep kayfabe 24/7, especially around kids. So I'm like, yeah, of course it's real wrestling. And then Rob goes, we talked about it before. This is real wrestling. So I figured, he's kind of just kayfabing the kid, as he should, because the kid's 7. But he goes, yeah, it's real. We talked about this. The only thing that, is not real is the outcome. And I wanted to flip the table over, but I didn't. Listen, not my kid. So I stayed calm. I allowed it to roll. But I just found it funny. It was like, and actually what Rob was saying was 100% true. It's, the outcomes are predetermined, but you get in there, it's real. You're getting hit. You're flying through. You're taking these bumps. So that is real. I just found it funny that he told his son that, the outcomes are there. I wasn't told about, wrestling, about the kayfabe pulled back. I'm going to be honest with you. I was definitely early double digits. I had to have been maybe 11 or 12, maybe even later than that. And look, we're talking in an era that had no internet, so who knew? Back then, curtain certainly wasn't pulled back. I remember the first time I ever learned that, this business isn't really everything that I thought it would be, or thought it was, as far as kayfabe. And some of you may remember this as well. It was a 2020 special. And it was a match between Bob Backlund and Larry Zbyszko. And what 2020 did, and damn John Stossel, from that day forward, I never liked you. They pulled the curtain back. 2020 pulled the curtain back on professional wrestling. And I remember what they did was they somehow lowered the audio of the audience and somehow raised the audio that was from the ring. And, you hear Backlund and Zbyszko telling each other what's next. I think it was Backlund had Zbyszko in a headlock, and the move was going to pick him up, shoot him off the ropes, shoulder tackle, something like that. And I remember that was the first time I saw that. And it blew my mind. I thought they were making it up. I didn't believe... First of all, I don't know why I'm watching 2020 at such a young age. Second of all, I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And I didn't come to grips with it for a while. But, as time goes on, look, it was inevitable. The Curtain was going to be pulled back. Vince did it the right way, I think. Vince did it slowly but properly. But you know what? Curtain's been pulled back. I don't care. For the 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours I'm there, I could care less if it's staged, predetermined, whatever it is. I'm in my own world, and I love that. And in 2 weeks, I mean, I'll be at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. I'll be there for the NXT Championship as Bobby Roode defends against Drew McIntyre. The next night, I will be in the exact same building in Brooklyn for SummerSlam. And we're talking a fatal four-way for the Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Roman Reigns. Not only that, the WWE Championship is on the line. Shinsuke Nakamura looks to dethrone the 50th WWE Champion, Jinder Mahal, the modern-day Maharaja. After that, Monday, the third night in a row, I will be back at the Barclays Center for Monday Night Raw. And Tuesday, I'll be back for SmackDown. 4 shows I'm going to. I'm going to all 4 of them. Not only that, I got 2 meet and greets beforehand. Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. And I really better get that Sasha Banks pop vinyl. Popinthebox.us. Let's go. And for all that entire weekend, I'm going to be in my element. I'm going to be at the greatest show on the planet. I've said it before and I said it again. There's nothing better than professional wrestling. And I'm just going to be enthralled in that action. And at 37 years old, you know what? When the first match opens until the main event's over, I'll admit I'm full kayfabe and I completely forget that it may be predetermined. Because you know why? It's the greatest show on the planet. Not just WWE. I'm also talking Ring of Honor. I'm talking Impact Wrestling. I'm talking Pro Wrestling Syndicate, Evolve, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Over the Top, Progress, any independent promotion out there. Support indie wrestling. I'm going to say it every week. Support indie wrestling. Support Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Only $20. Every seat in the house, $20. Be there. It's going to be a tremendous match. Tremendous night. Sabu and Vader finally going one-on-one. Raven's going to be there. MVP's going to be there. I'm telling you, New Jack, God help us all, is going to be there. And it's going to be a hell of a show. Teddy Hart's going to be there. And not only Pro Wrestling Syndicate, I'm going to tell you this much. Pro Wrestling Punchlines. Check them out as well. They're doing some tremendous stuff. Crates. And they got new for July of 2017, a mystery tea box. T-shirts. 3 T-shirts for $25. Check them out. You can find them on Facebook, Pro Wrestling Punchlines. Trust me when I tell you, it's well worth it. I've bought a crate before. I'm looking to get the T-shirts. And by golly, I'm going to be there Saturday night, September 30th. Pro Wrestling Syndicate Refuse to Lose. And that's this week with Pro Slam World Podcast. Next week, we're going to talk about SummerSlam. It's going to be all things SummerSlam as we lead into the biggest party of the summer, but not just SummerSlam. We're going to talk NXT. We're going to talk Raw and SmackDown, what's happening, what's leading up to SummerSlam as well. And, I want to hear your thoughts as well about the show being on Mondays now. Do you want it on Mondays? Do you want it on Fridays? Let me know. Go search out Pro Slam World on Facebook, on YouTube. Hear us. We want to hear you. Let us know. This drops, and whether you listen on Spreaker, on iTunes, or on YouTube, you can actually through my page, youtube.com/C/More365, MOHR365. You can find it there. More importantly, go to Pro Slam World on YouTube as well to check out the history of Pro Slam World. And folks, I will see you Saturday night, September 30th, Metuchen, New Jersey. Metuchen, whatever. Pro Wrestling Syndicates refuse to lose. I will see you there, and until then, I will see you next week.
Time to live.